Hello guys, here we are with the Katana build guide in Nioh 3, a video that has to show something on both beginners and to those who are ready to go for the new game plus. I will start with the best moves of the Katana Sword and one more very interesting thing, the animation times of its attack, something that will be very useful to you in order to know how to push damage on enemy bosses on various different situations. Now, the first attack that I will showcase is the Night Rain, an ability available to you only from low stance that is one of the fastest moves on our kit and deals great amount of damage to both trash mobs and bosses. I found myself using it a lot in open world exploration, but also in very short damage window opportunities. To use Night Rain, simply hold the heavy attack button. Next we have the Severing Spin, a crucible attack that is very strong against multiple enemies thanks to its huge AoE, but also very effective against revenants. Sometimes revenants will block this attack and it might seem to you that it is not as effective as I'm telling you, but it is the safest and easiest option to farm revenants. Severing Spin is also very nice because if you time it correctly, it can deflect an incoming attack. Not only useful versus regular attacks, but also very strong if you manage to memorize some boss movesets and you time it to deflect the last attack of their sequence so that you can continue safely with the rest of the animation to push back some damage. For the newer players who are watching this video, Crucible attacks can be learned through Crucible Weapons. In short, when you drop a weapon with this icon, you equip it until you reach max familiarity with it, and when you do, the Crucible attack that is fixed on that weapon will be available to you to use it with any other weapon of your choice. Next we have another move that is one of the fastest on our kit, the Heaven Flash Lightning. Heaven Flash will dash forward on an enemy and if it connects it will do a jumping attack. It is very good considering how fast its animation is and you will use it mostly to poke some damage into bosses when they give you a small window of opportunity after they finish with their combo. Next we have the strongest hitting attack in the game, as far as I know at least, the Sword of Meditation. Sword of Meditation is also a crucible attack that you will have to learn through a crucible weapon, and to cast it you will need to hold the heavy attack. Personally, I bind it to the high stance because I use other useful abilities on low and mid stance. The longer you're holding heavy attack, the harder it will hit. Its damage output after several buffs is ridiculous. Let me show you how I use it on two different scenarios. The first one is versus human enemies, both bosses and revenants, and what I do is to utilize the Flowing Mist ability that I bind it on the high stance L1 plus heavy attack that stun locks the enemy on perfect parry. This stun lock animation will allow you to follow up with Sword of Meditation. Again, I just bind it to holding heavy attack from high stance and it one-shot revenants or sometimes even bosses. And the second one is versus yokai boss fights where I use a few talismans to buff myself and slow down the enemy. So I use Current Talisman or Power Talisman and Last Stand for damage boost. Then I use Preservation to make sure that I will survive lethal damage since I'm going to be very low on health. And when I go in, I use the Sloth Talisman to slow down the boss and sometimes Weakness Talisman to reduce its armor. None of this is mandatory, but I wanted to show you how to achieve these big numbers. Sometimes it might be a hassle to apply all these buffs and then you will die in one hit, but most of the times all it takes is 2 or 3 hits from this attack to end the boss fight. So sometimes it can be worth a while. There's also a summoning ability that stuns the target for a second that it might prove useful to you if you want to land it safely. The name of this soul core is the Red Kappa Soul with the Paralyze effect. Moving on, we have two slow hitting abilities that most of the times we won't be able to cast them without taking damage, but we have a use for them as well. The first one is the Kurama Sword Dance, available when we press L1 and light attack. Personally, I have it on mid stance, cool animation, okay damage but very slow, usable only with risk to get hit or when you know you will have time for it. Additionally, on middle stance I use the Sword Key, which is available when holding heavy attack. Sword Key has two steps, the first one puts the sword up and knock back enemies, and you can follow up with a light attack for this very fast and fair damage dealing ability. We will use both of these abilities in a combo when the target runs out of ki, because when the target runs out of ki, our proficiency attacks will stagger it and we can chain several attacks in a row. Later on, when we finish with the moveset showcase, I will show you a complete combo on a target that has no ki. Next, we have another very fast ability called Morning Moon and its variation Morning Moon Impact that is also available in all stances when we press heavy attack after a light attack. This attack is also one of the fastest moves on our kit, which means you can use it in between enemy attacks and be sure that you will have enough time to deflect the incoming hit. However, the Swallow Wing Water seems to be a better choice for this hotkey since it will deal the same amount of damage, but you can also chain it with your light attacks and it will also apply the water element on your target. I will leave a link in the description or where you can find and unlock the Swallow Wing Water ability. Shadow Sword is a very slow combo that is available from any stance, and to execute it you will have to press strong attack, then light attack and then strong attack again. It is not a very good ability damage wise, but it deals great amount of key damage to the enemy. The most common use of this ability is when you notice that the enemy key bar is close to be depleted and you want to start the stagger combo. Considering you have enough key and the proficiency arts ready, you can unleash a very powerful combo on the enemy bosses. And the last ability is the Shift Step Heavy that is available from the low stance, and to execute it you will have to press L1 plus light attack after a light attack. This ability by all means is not a hard hitting ability, but it teleports you on the back of your enemy, and always remember that enemies take increased damage when you are hitting them from behind. In reality, the only reason to play this ability is if you wanna have fun with crazy combos and you are comfortable when to use it versus boss fights. If you have memorized the boss's moveset, you can cast this one with perfect timing to teleport behind the boss and start a combo sequence. Again, I don't believe this is efficient, it is just cool to watch and sometimes gives you better position. So now that we are done with the showcase and each ability's use, let's have a look on the time frames that each ability needs to be casted. Starting with the fastest abilities, we have the Heaven Flash Lightning with only 1.7 seconds cast time. We have the Morning Moon again with only 1.7 seconds. And we have the Night Rain again with 1.7 seconds cast time. Next we have the Swift Step Heavy with 1.9 seconds cast time, but like I said, damage wise it's not that strong, so I personally avoid it. On 2.1 seconds cast time we have the Sword Key paired with the following light attack. This attack will deal good amount of damage, but most of the times we will use it when we have the proficiency art ready, and we also plan to combine it with more art attacks. Next is the Severing Spin with 2.3 seconds cast time, and preferably I want to use it when I deflect the last incoming attack, or like I said in the open world versus multiple enemies or revenants. You can also pair this attack with pretty much anything. Severing Spin can be your go-to option for any situation if you have time for it. On 2.4 seconds we have the Shadow Sword that, like I said, will deal great amount of key damage, and with 2.5 seconds we have the Kurama Sword Dance, again not so good damage wise considering the long animation and the risk you take to get hit. Now that we have finished with the entire kit showcase, first subscribe to the channel if you want me to create more guides like this one for the rest of the weapons, and secondly let me show you a very advanced combo with many katana abilities combined. First, in order to use this combo, we will have to have the proficiency arts ready to use and an enemy boss that is ready to break. So the starting ability of this combo can vary depending on your choice or what you are comfortable with. Most of the times I use Heaven Flash Lightning because of its speed and the gap close capability, but the only goal of this first move is to destroy the remaining key of our target. So right here you can consider using Shadow Sword as well, since as we discussed earlier, it deals great amount of key damage, which can guarantee that you will deplete the boss's key bar. After that, if you placed your hotkeys like I do, you will have to swap to middle stance and use the sword key with the light attack chain hit. Then hold L1 plus light attack for the Kurama Sword Dance. Then you will have to swap back to low stance and press L1 plus light attack again for the Heaven Flash Lightning. And finally finish the combo with L1 plus heavy attack for Severing Spin. Another variation that will deal even more damage than this. Once again we start with the ability that will deplete the enemy's key bar, preferably Shadow Sword. Then same as before we use Sword Key with a chain light attack, Sword Dance, and then we swap to high stance and this time we use the Sword of Meditation. Like I've said, Sword of Meditation is busted right now, so adding it to this combo will definitely increase your damage output. Finally, here is a demonstration of a full combo with talisman buffs against one of the hardest battle scrolls in Nioh 3 on New Game Plus. If you are not exhausted yet, let's move to the best gear and the stats that I recommend. Minamoto is the gear set that I'm using for this build, and the reason is because it gives me great buffs when I deflect attack, plus it deals key damage to the enemy as well when I deflect. With all pieces of this set, you will also get a nice damage boost based on your strength, making it overall very nice armor to wear. If you are on your first playthrough, just put some levels on strength and intelligence in order to be able to equip and benefit from your gear, put on some points on stamina if you don't have green agility, and aim for 15 points in magic in order to unlock 3 more talisman slots. Now the skills that I am using for this Katana Sword build. Attack Mastery 1 and 2, which will give you the same amount of attack that gives you 15 levels in the late stages of the game. Repel Expert, just to make sure that I don't miss the swift break parries. Awakening to cast magic faster. And Amplification to extend the duration of my magic abilities. Some very good samurai skills are the Single Slash Katana that boosts the strong attack damage, Running Water which give us key pelts on dodge, Advantageous Deflect because it fills our art gaze faster when we deflect elemental attacks, Blade Breaking Deflect, it reduces the damage taking from enemies after we deflect, Tempestuous Deflect that will give us bonus damage every time we deflect, Resilient Arts that boosts the art's damage, and Oppressive Strength that will give us a knockback immunity versus enemy attacks when we are casting a proficiency art. Now, the core swords that I am using are the Red Kappa with a Paralyze effect in order to freeze enemies and land a safe Sword of Meditation, Carnage Talisman that lowers the defense but boosts the attack damage, Last Stand that also lowers the HP but also boosts your attack damage, Lightning Familiar to apply the lightning debuff on the targets which will slow them significantly, the Sloth Talisman that also slows your target even more, the Fire Talisman that set my sword on fire for more damage, and the Preservation Talisman that saves you from fatal hits. Guys, that was everything I know about the Katana build in Nioh 3. Katana was very fun to play, maybe there are more tips that I forgot to mention, so make sure to leave your impact on the comments down below. Again, leave a sub if you want me to create more of these guides. Thank you all for watching and see you on the next one.